If you're anything like me, this whole global pandemic thing has probably left you feeling a little bit uncertain, probably a bit scared, and maybe even like signing off the internet forever and never posting anything again. But my dear creator, now is not the time for that. Your people want to hear from you now more than ever. So many people are sitting at home right now, scrolling through their phones, looking for some sign of hope, or maybe even just a bit of a distraction from what's going on in the world right now. And you can be the person to provide that for them. So in today's video, I'm gonna share with you my 5 guidelines for posting content during a global crisis so that your content stays relevant to your brand, but also is created within the context of what's happening in the world and remains sensitive to what all of your followers might be going through right now. So let's get started. Hey, welcome back to my channel. And if you are new here, my name is Katie Steckly, and here on YouTube, I love to share all of my best tips and advice about social media marketing and creative entrepreneurship. So full disclosure, I am obviously not an expert in this. I mean, none of us really are. The coronavirus and the global public health crisis that we're currently experiencing is something totally unprecedented in our lifetime. And unfortunately, when the Spanish flu was going around, we didn't have Instagram, so we don't know what they posted back then. Too soon, probably. So obviously, this is uncharted territory for all of us. But I really feel like over the past week or so, I've learned a lot about what people come to me on Instagram for and how I can show up for them during this time. So that's where my 5 guidelines come from. Number 1, share openly and vulnerably. Honestly, this is something that I always talk about, but now more than ever is a really good time to share honestly about how you feel. I think for me, and probably for many of you, the biggest block that I had to posting anything about coronavirus was that I felt like I didn't have anything to share. People didn't want to hear from me. And most of all, I was also scared and uncertain too, so I didn't know what I was going to tell these people to make them feel better. If you're feeling the same way, just opening up and sharing your feelings can go a long way with your followers in building that like, know, and trust factor that we're always talking about, and just having transparency and letting them know where you're at. The thing is, we all deep down feel the same way about this. We're all kind of scared. We're all kind of unsure what's going to happen next. And we can share that and be in that together. So don't be afraid to let your followers know how you're feeling. This is the basic first step that you can do when it comes to moving forward with social media content creation in this very weird time that we're living in. Honestly, when all of this stuff was becoming so intense in the news and people were talking about it constantly online, I kind of told myself that I wasn't going to post anything about it because there's just too many people talking about it and there's so much noise on social media and I'm not a public health expert. But very quickly I started to realize that first of all, the context was changing. I was starting to notice that this was going to be our new normal for quite a while. So it's going to be hard for me to long-term just ignore the fact that we're all quarantining ourselves. And also, I started to get messages from people telling me they wanted to know my thoughts on it. Like, it felt to them like I was out of touch or not really a part of what's going on right now if my post didn't acknowledge it at all. And I get that to some extent. You know, maybe there are some places where we go for just distraction and like a positive outlook. But for a lot of us, we need to know that the person that we're learning from is sort of dealing with the same stuff as us. And if it seems like they are totally unaffected by all of this, that is pretty much the most unrelatable thing ever. So figure out what makes sense in your context and with your brand, but at this point, not saying something kind of makes you irrelevant in our current life circumstances because all of our lives have been changed so much by this. And on the other side of the coin, the other thing you can do is number 2, share a positive outlook. Now I know this can be really hard because let's be honest, a lot of stuff just sucks right now and things have been canceled, life is very different, some people have lost their jobs and all of that is terrible. But the reality is, even before this crisis, there were still lots of terrible things going on in the world, and somehow we do need to find happiness and joy in our everyday lives just to keep ourselves moving forward as humans. So think about different ways in your content strategy you can remind people to find joy in their day. What are those simple pleasures of staying at home and, reading a book or enjoying the sunshine coming through your window or taking a bath? Like, what are those small things you can do to find happiness and think of ones that particularly relate to your content or your brand that you can remind people of. So even if it's just a short moment of a smile as they scroll across your content on their feed, that is something that you can bring to people to help brighten up their day a little bit in these difficult times. Maybe even remind people of what they can do to use this extra time to their advantage. For me, I'm spending a lot more time reading and learning new things and playing Minecraft, which I haven't done in a really long time, but it's very fun. So think of things that are related to your content and your brand that you could remind your people about. Remind them of the little ways that they can find joy in their day, and your followers are definitely going to appreciate that. But at the same time, you need to balance that with number 3, which is acknowledge the crappiness of it all. Look, it is difficult. I think that a lot of us that are creating content for Instagram and other social media platforms are tempted to go into this look on the bright side all the time because we want to share positivity. That's sort of where we're always leaning towards with our content, which I think is a really beautiful thing. But at the same time, it can also become very unrelatable if all you ever do is say, think of everything you can do with your time now. Like, chilling at home is so nice. Like, if you override everybody with positivity, they're going to become annoyed and detached because it's like, no, man, there is stuff we're missing out on and it does suck. So really just try to keep that in mind, which I'm sure you can because you probably feel the same way, where there are some good parts that are nice, but there are also kind of crappy parts that make us miss out on big events or spending time with our friends or whatever it might be. So make sure that you acknowledge that in some of your posts too, so that people don't start to see you as just this like positivity robot that doesn't understand what they're going through. The trick for both of these things, both spreading positivity and acknowledging the difficult things, is finding ways that that really connects to your brand and what you normally share about on your platform. If your followers have become used to seeing a very particular kind of content for you and then you're now posting stuff that's totally unrelated, that might also not be desirable. So try to think creatively about how you can incorporate these two things, acknowledging real world events that we're all going through, but then also make it relevant to your brand's voice. The fourth thing you can do to bring your followers into your life a little bit more is share your coping strategies. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, it's not like we're all experts and you're saying, oh, I'm happy all the time, let me teach you how to be happy all the time. We know that's not true. We're all just human. But you might have something that you can share with your followers that'll help them have a little bit better of a day. Maybe you've established some new healthy daily routines that they could implement and see benefits from. Maybe you've started a new hobby like Minecraft and you want to encourage other people to do the same. This is a really great way to let people into your behind the scenes, get to know your followers on a more personal level so they recognize your face, they know what you're doing with your average day and what your life looks like. That really builds a personal connection that is super, super valuable on Instagram or any other social media platform really. And it might just be helpful to someone if you share a routine or a strategy that would also benefit their life as well. And number 5, probably most important of all, is just let your followers know that you are there for them and that you understand that life is really hard right now, but you're going to keep trying to provide the same value that you've always provided and the same value that they followed you for. It really feels like things are changing every single day and it can be stressful to feel like you need to keep up with it. Just know that your content does not need to be a news update. You don't need to be telling people, what the current number of active cases is. That's not going to be helpful. They can find that information somewhere else. Just keep this context of a global crisis that is affecting all of our lives in this super intimate way. Keep that in mind and try to be sensitive to that in the content you're creating, no matter what it's about. It's not like everything on your content calendar now needs to become, hashtag COVID-19 theme, because that's not going to be helpful either. But try to keep this stuff in mind as you're creating your regular content and ensure that it's still relevant to people where they're at right now in their lives. And remind your followers frequently that you're there for them and that you can help them out in whatever it is your niche, your service, your product is, and that you're always available for them to reach out to you. Now is a perfect time to be talking with people in the DMs just to feel a little bit more social since we're all so physically isolated. And it's a great way to connect with your people and figure out what they need so that you can create more content and provide resources for them. At the end of the day, this is not about completely changing your Instagram strategy to be talking about totally different stuff. This is about recognizing what's going on in the world, where your followers might be at in their lives right now, and then producing content that meets them where they're at. And honestly, it's a really good exercise for creating Instagram content no matter what the circumstance, because It's all about understanding who your ideal follower is, what they're going through, and how you can help them. And there just so happens to be something going on in the world right now that's really big and affecting all of us. So it gives you a little bit of an insight into what the struggles of your followers might be, and then how you can help them through that. Don't worry about being an expert. Just focus on showing compassion and sensitivity and being there for people. Now that you've got your updated content strategy in mind, it's time to build a super flawless content calendar. You can check out this video that I made all about that, plus get my free Instagram content calendar template. You can download it at the link in the description of this video. On your way over there, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in this one. Okay, bye.